I'm Donna Beckman, and I am the volunteer parent consultant at the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic, which is one of the benefactors of Anna's Angels Foundation, where they do a great deal of research that benefits the children, or individuals I should say, who have Down syndrome, who come to the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic. People look at me as I'm doing something for someone else, and I just feel so grateful that I get to participate and be on staff at the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic. I don't know if you're aware, but the numbers of people living in the United States with Down syndrome are right about 500,000 people, which is a large number, but when you look at that in the percentage of the total population, it is not a large percentage of the population, and we are not an A-list disability, and so that means we don't get nearly as much attention, which means we don't get nearly as much funding or awareness for Down syndrome. And yet the providers at the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic are so committed to our children and individuals with Down syndrome that I actually feel fortunate that they let me be a part of the team. I consider the providers at the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic rock stars in the Down syndrome community. There's not a lot of fame or fortune in what they do, but they are so committed to individuals with Down syndrome, and I feel fortunate to be part of that team and being able to give back to other members of our community by my participation as the volunteer parent consultant. They are committed to a population which is not a large percentage of the population, and yet they have our back. Speaking as a parent of a child with Down syndrome, I don't have to worry about what comes next in Thomas's life, because I know that the providers at the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic are going to be taking care of him. Actually, I did. The Duke Down Syndrome Clinic originated in 1995, and my son Thomas was born in 2000, and Thomas was born with a heart defect, which is very common to children with Down syndrome. And so after he got healthy, after a few surgeries, we had our first visit at the Duke Down Syndrome Clinic, and Sally Austin Summers was the volunteer parent consultant at the time, and her daughter is probably at least 10 years older than my son Thomas. And what is so nice about the Down syndrome community is I've got the older child now, but I still get to see Sally and hear about her daughter Sarah and think of what's coming next for my son. And so that is also a helpful role that I play at the Down Syndrome Clinic, because so many parents, when their children are younger, are anxious to know what comes next. How did you do that? Well, some of my best days at the Down Syndrome Clinic are when there's a lot of babies, because who doesn't love a baby, whether they have Down syndrome or not? And they just, have these beautiful toothless grins or these big, beautiful eyes. And it's just so endearing to be in the room with these families as they begin their journeys. And I'm just so happy to be able to share positive experiences about my life as a parent of a child with Down syndrome. A lot of parents will ask questions like, when did your child walk? And I could say, well, Thomas didn't walk till after his second birthday, but he walks, he runs, he jumps. We have a very tall tree house with a ladder, and when he was younger, we needed to place a gate over the ladder so he couldn't traverse up to the top of the tree house unattended. And as he got a bit taller, he figured out how to overcome that obstacle. And so he might not have walked till after his second birthday, but he's climbing up to the treehouse all by himself with a gate on the ladder.